This episode sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the Don's Light and Magic Legacy line of parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow. Also sponsored by GCals, producing aftermarket replacement decals and custom quality graphics for your favorite spaceships. Visit www.gcals.company.site and add some personalization to your sci-fi models today. Also sponsored by Mask Design, boldly going where no masking kit has gone before. Take your model to the next level of detail and accuracy with a masking kit from Mask Design. Visit Mask Design on Facebook or click the ordering link in the notes below the video. What's up, fellow modelers? Will here. Welcome to the Engine's Chair. This episode, we're going to finally get the secondary hull buttoned up, just about buttoned up. I've got a couple more things to do on it that I'm going to do off camera. So I've just got it temporarily kind of closed up here. But I'm going to show you what I'm doing as far as the lighting on this and show you getting the shuttle. We're going to get the shuttle bay installed, get the botanical garden installed, and pretty much get the lighting ready to go on the secondary hull. That way we can move on to what should be our final major assembly point, which is the nacelles. We'll do that next episode. But for now, let's take a look at what I'm doing on the secondary hull. So give me a minute. I'll put you on the bench. We'll get to work. Alright guys, so I'm working on the secondary hull parts here, the pylons, the engineering hull, and the top of the engineering hull when the strong backs are going to be painted. And I've done the first coat of white primer on this. I did a complete black out of it inside and out. And I like to do both sides because sometimes if you do just the inside, there's little spots around these supports and that, and you'll never get the black paint in there. And then you seal this up and light it, and you see little starbursts almost where these connections are. So I like block it on inside and the outside in black. And you can see some of that black here where I've had to come over it with some putty, and that's what I'm working on right now, is going through addressing some of the imperfections I found once I put the white on. And one thing I want to point out is, and I don't know if this is on all the molds, but I've noticed on this one in particular that there's this kind of bulge around all the window openings and vent openings and that. Kind of like it was pulled out of the mold, and it was, or the way the mold is, it just made like this lip around it. So I had to go through, and that's what you see. I've sanded down here, and you can see it's where it's black at all around here. That's where the where that issue was at. Let me pull this cord up here. So I've gone over this and lightly sanded all that with 400 grit sandpaper, and I've come in and readdressed some of these imperfections I found. I'm working on this one in the front here right now because it shouldn't be as pronounced of a panel line here as it is when you put this part on. So I filled that in with my my perfect plastic slurry, and I'm waiting for that to dry, and then I'll come over this with a Q-tip and see how it looks and go from there. But once I get that addressed, then I can start looking at putting another coat of white on here. I'll probably do another coat of white, let it dry, and come over this with maybe a 600 grit. And that's probably it. I know some people will go finer. They'll go even as high as 1,000 grit or finer on these. Maybe some even do a wet sand. But I really don't see a point in that, and that's just my opinion. But you're using this Rust-Oleum 2X flat paint, as Gary recommends with the mask set. I just don't see a point in going that smooth with it. It needs to be smooth, but I think 600 grit will give you a plenty smooth enough surface for those masks to work great on this. You don't want it too smooth, and that's one of the things Gary talks about, is you don't want the the smoother you make it, the more those masks are going to stick to this, and you don't want it to stick to the point where you start pulling paint off. So I think 600 grit's plenty, and again, that's just my opinion. I think that's plenty fine enough grit to go with for a final pass over this with the sandpaper. So I've got this part blocked out. I've still got to insert a light in there, but I can do that through the bottom here before I insert the shuttle bay. And once I get this finalized, get ready to put the final coat of white on this, I will mask off these two spots on the back here on either side of the hull, which I've already painted the light blue. And I had mentioned last episode that I thought that the masking set from Mask Design came with masks for that, but I've looked at it. I've looked over the sheet several times. I've looked over the instructions because Gary always gives you this nice layout of what all the sheets, what's on each numbered sheet, and I looked through it and I didn't see any masks for this, even though I could have sworn I'd seen these masks with the masking set, and I'll look again as I go through the masking set itself. But I didn't see any masks for these, but that's okay. It's not an issue for me. And I also know that Boyd, when he did one of his last videos working on this section, Boyd had mentioned too that the masks for these came with the masking set. So I don't know if that's something that's included now and it wasn't when I got this set, or what. But it doesn't appear to be in my set that I have. So what I do have, and I had already ordered a set of these anyway because I wanted it for the extra window masks, was HDA Model Works puts out a window and clear parts mask set for the 1350 refit and A, and it comes with a bunch of extra masks. So if you get the kit from Mask Design, let's say you make a mistake on something, Gary does give you some extra masks for certain parts, but if there's no extra mask for that particular part, you can order this set, and I forget what I paid for. It's been a while. I've had this for quite a bit. But it comes with a bunch of extra window masks, which is what I really wanted it for, but it also comes with some other stuff like the Impulse engines, which you get with the Mask Design set. But you've got some Arboretum masks, VIP lounge masks. But it also comes with the mask for the tractor emitters and shuttle bay doors. So this set does have those, so I'll be able to use those to mask off those two panels. And it also has the mask for the red for the control room over top of, I don't know if it's control room or observation, whatever it is, over top of the shuttle bay. So I've got masks for all that, but I don't plan to need to use those because I'll get this painted and then I'll insert that clear red piece in from the back, and then this will already be painted when I do that. So I don't anticipate needing to use those, but I have them in case I need to come back and do some touch up and I need to mask those off. I'll have the masks for it. So working on getting all these parts kind of sanded and smoothed out, and like I said, coming back over it with some putty and some spots. I've come through and sanded this one smooth as best I can without removing all these little panels, raised panels that you've got on here. So I've got that pretty good, and also my pylons, they're sealed up and light blocked and painted. I haven't run my wires through here because I should be able to do that after I get these attached to the hull. I can worry about running my wires because I haven't worked out yet exactly how I'm doing the nacelles and how many wires I'm going to need to run up for the different lights in the nacelles. So once I do that, then I can figure out what my wiring is going to need to be through here and still run that down through the hull. I did open it up on this one end to where, because you do have to open it up a little bit, and I can't show you right now because it's taped up for painting, but in between where that Y shape comes out that attaches to the secondary hull, you do have to widen that space out in between and open it up so your wires will slide through. And I've done that. This part is plenty wide open for wiring, so that's not going to be an issue. But that's what I've done with these so far. I just finished sanding these, and I can do my second repaint on it. And like I said, if I need to come over it again with like a 600 grit sandpaper, I think will be plenty fine enough for that. But outside of that, that's pretty much everything's pretty much ready to go. Just got to finish up the final coat of paint on this. I got to work on this still, and then I will be ready to start inserting the shuttle bay and the Arboretum. And I've already got this part here. This is from if you remember, I used the dish 3D file. I printed this from Ian's files that he did up on this So if anybody's needing this and can't find it, let me know. And I think I shared it in one of the previous videos already, but I'll double check and make sure. But I've got this printed up and mostly painted. I still got to do the Aztecing, or the pattern that's got to go on here yet. So I've got to work on that, but that fits great in there. And the only other thing I'll mention is I put this front part on first. A lot of people wait till they get the top attached and then put this front on this part on first. I'm sorry, last actually, after they get this completely assembled. But I kind of want to get this in place so I can kind of work on things and figure out how I want to position the lighting and everything. And I wanted to get this part in so that I could do that. And the only real thing you have to do in order to be able to do this part first is you've got this support here, and you've got a little peg on the end. You just cut that off. I mean, you don't really need the peg. You're still going to be able to glue this support to the bottom part. You don't really need the peg for that. It's just a locator pin. But that lets me kind of slide this in under that front lip without that peg in there. And then I can get all this to kind of close up nice and tight. And you'll see that you can just fit all this in place. I am working on this back part, sanding a little bit off this back end because it does kind of fit really tight up against the back top part of the shuttle bay here. And I can get it in there. This did have some tabs on it, and I've sanded those off. There we go. You just got to finesse it a little bit, and it'll slide right into place, and you can glue that all down. And all of this will just glue into place once I get the pylons in. So you don't have to do it that way. It's just the way I did it. It may even be better to some extent to leave this part off until you've done the rest of this. But and I did go ahead, like Boyd had recommended, and sand it. I found that this fits together better if I do completely remove the pegs on this side. But I still have the I don't know if I wouldn't really call them pegs, but I've still got these supports on this side where the pylons will attach. So that'll give me a good connection for the pylons still. But anyway, so that's what I'm working on now. I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to get these repainted with their second coat of paint. Once I get this part done, we'll be ready for its second coat of paint, and we can see where we're at. So give me a little bit. All right, so I started working on getting my lighting installed in the secondary hull because I need to get that installed before I can start putting in my other stuff. And I did work up getting the that observation area or control room, whatever that's supposed to be. That's the red lighting that you see there. I did get that installed. I got the blue lighting done on these side panels here. I think those are where the tractor beam emitters or something are. And so I did a little, totally out of focus. I did a little experimenting with my lighting to see just how much lighting I needed. And you can see I've got, grab my little brass rod here. You see I've got some light strips down here installed in the bottom, and I've also got light strips on the top here. And what I found out was once I got this all together and turned the lighting on was it was way too bright. Way too bright. So I actually don't need, I was concerned that if I only put lighting strips in the top that it wouldn't light the bottom windows up as evenly. And I've actually found that disconnecting the bottom strips and just leaving these top strips lit up, it's plenty of lighting. It's sufficient lighting. You're not got to worry about it getting less bright down here. It may be a little brighter up here, but remember I've got to put those window inserts in yet, those acrylic window inserts from Laser Fire Creations. And I think that's going to help pick the light up and help it light up even more evenly. Even more evenly. But so I'm going to take these bottom light strips back out because I don't need them. But so far I've got my SMD in the back here for that light on the bottom that blinks in sync with the nav lights. And then we've got another SMD up front here, which is our strobe for the bottom. And I've got the pylons. I still haven't glued these in. I did have a little accident with my red transparent paint when I was doing the back here. I got some, which is no big deal. See, I did on both sides. So I did it evenly at least. But I got to do another coat of paint on this anyway once I get it all together. So I'm not too worried about it. I just want to get a coat of white on here so that some areas where I won't have to do as much masking to protect some areas such as these windows. I'm going to talk about this here in a second. But so I've got this all wired up, and let me tuck some of these wires out of the way. Get this piece kind of just slid in there for a second. And if you hear a commotion in the background, that's Tiberius going nuts with a toy mouse I got him. So, but so there we go. So you can see how that lights up. There's really no issue with it not being lit evenly, because we did that white paint on the inside to help the light reflect, and it does an awesome job of reflecting all that light. And you can see some of the windows through the other side, but you're not going to be able to see that once I get the clear inserts installed in here, which I'm trying to wait till the last possible minute. That way I don't have to mask all these windows off when I do painting. But so you see just that light strip on top, it's going to light up plenty bright. So I'm happy with that, and we can move forward with that. And you can see, if I can get this, you see how that red's lighting up back there and the blue. Now once I get the shuttle bay in place, I'm going to have to take a look at this, because I don't think this is going to be a problem, but these two side here, I might have to add additional lighting for these two blue panel light panels here on each side, because that shuttle bay I think might block that lighting too much. And I know the white kind of makes it to where you can't really see the blue, but trust me, it's lighting up just like it should. This shouldn't be a very overly bright light coming out of these blue panels here, so I don't want it to be real bright, and it's lighting up perfectly right now. I just think once I put that shuttle bay in place, I'll have to take a look at it and see how it's looking. But yeah, so that one light strip is plenty bright. And when I'm using, again, just like in the saucer section, I'm using my cool white. And I believe I got this off of Amazon. I'll have to put the link down below. But this is a 12 volt lighting too. So that 12 volt also helps it light up bright. Now if you use like a 9 volt source, you may have to use more strip lighting than what I used. Just because it doesn't quite light as bright as a 12 volt will. But the 12 volt, just that one light strip. Let me pop this off again. You can see just how bright that lights up, but it's nice and reflective off of that white paint that we did in there, and I don't have the bottom on at all, so you don't need them. And I like just being able to remove this panel with the lights on it right now until I get it glued together. So that is that's what I'm doing with that. But so with that about pretty much figured out, I was ready to start installing. Let me disconnect this again so I can pull this out of the way. I was ready to start installing the Arboretum and the shuttle bay here. But before I do that, I've got to install the windows for the Arboretum. And I've got the parts here from Laser Fire Creations that came with the kit you can get from them with all the window inserts. And I ran into a problem with it. And the problem isn't Laser Fire Creations. These are a little thick. I wish they were a little thinner. But the problem that was created isn't really just because of the thickness of these. It's because on one side here I did get just a little too much glue, and you're probably not going to be able to make it out even if I had good lighting and I was able to get this up close enough to the camera, but there was just a little too much CA glue buildup in one spot. And so what I did was I came in with my Dremel and a very small router bit. You see how small that router bit is on the end there, and tried to clean it up, but what happened was it caught the photo etch, and I'm lucky it didn't really tear the photo etch up, but it did break it free on this one corner here, this one edge. So once that happened, I've learned from previous mistakes that, you know, when something happens like that, just stop, think about it. Is there a different route you can go to achieve the same effect? And I don't really, I hate that I can't use these, because it's just that they're perfectly clear. You can see just how clear these are. I mean, they're perfectly clear. You can't even tell they're in there when they're installed in the Arboretum. But the thickness in combination with having that build up on the one side, and this side I could fit it in perfectly. So again, like I said, it's not an issue with the Laser Fire Creations. even though it is a little thick. The issue is because I got a little bit of buildup on this one corner, and with that, just that little bit of buildup makes it to where these won't seat enough, and I can't get the Arboretum to fit into place if these don't seat properly. So just keep that in mind. And I know Boyd, when he was doing this section, made a point of mentioning that when you do install these photo etch parts, to make sure you don't get too much of a buildup of glue. I did a good job of it on this side, but unfortunately on this side I did have one corner where there was just a dab too much of CA glue, and it just keeps this part from sitting properly, and it keeps this from being able to slide into place. So what I'm going to do is, and what I've already done is, I took this and dremelled it down to remove a lip, because there's a little bit of a lip on it. If you look at it in this part, you can kind of see that lip right there. So I took it off for the most part, and I used this as kind of a template to cut out some, I got some plastic drink bottles that had some flat spots, and I just cut some thinner lenses. You see how thin those are. And what I'll do is I'll install these. I got to fix this one here first, but I'll get these installed. And because these are much thinner, I won't have that problem where it'll keep this from sliding into place. And so that's what I'm going to work on, getting that. I've got to fix this first. Looks like I got a little bit of, there we go, a little bit of my perfect plastic putty on there. But I got to fix this first, and then glue that that clear piece into place, and then get this bay and the Arboretum installed. And then we'll come back and take a look, and we'll get this shuttle bay installed, because that's all ready to go too. So once I get that installed, get the shuttle bay installed, there's two other things real quick that I need to do. And that has to do with these spotlights that are supposed to shine up on the pylons. Well, this one here is not, without doing some work to it, it's not going to shine up on this pylon. It looks like it should, but when you look at it from the angle that it needs to go, there's no way light's going to shine up this way. Same thing for the top here. Well, the top is actually a little better. The top will actually shine up, but it's kind of a wide, very wide opening, and I kind of want to bring that down a little bit. So I've got a little bit of brass rod here that I'm going to cut. And just like I did on the neck for that spotlight, I'm going to cut this, I'm going to put an SMD in it, and I'm going to adjust the angle of the spotlight. This one here I'm going to have to open up a little bit in the back so that I can angle it properly to shine up on the pylon. This one here I shouldn't have to do any work to. It's just a matter of adjusting this properly and getting the right angle to shine that spotlight up on the pylon like it's supposed to. So we'll look at that when we get to that point, but I just want to mention that's what my plan is for that, to get that in place. But let me continue to work on trying to get these windows installed, get this Arboretum done, and then I can get the shuttle bay installed. I haven't glued the pylons in place yet because I want to make sure that it's not going to interfere with that shuttle bay getting installed, and I don't think it is, but just to be on the safe side, I want to make sure that I can get that in place. I want to try and see if I can get that in place for the pylons, just so you have a reference on it. But I'm going to keep working on this stuff, and we'll come back here in a little bit once I get some progress done, and we'll take a look. Alright, so I've just about got this Arboretum window back where it needs to be. I got to put another coat of paint on it yet. And I smudged a little CA glue right here on this panel, so I'm going to have to sand that a little bit and put another coat of paint. But what I'm working on, you can see here I've got the spotlight in place. So what I did was I had mentioned that the let me see if I can find something to point with here. That opening on the inside here where that spotlight is supposed to shine up, it really doesn't do a good job of shining up by itself. So what I did was I removed that, there's kind of a beveled edge, a raised edge around that opening on the inside. So I removed the bottom half of that opening. And what I did was I took a piece of plastic. Right now I was trying to use brass, but I don't have a good cutter for brass since I left a lot of my, or some of my tools anyway, back in Virginia when I moved here. And so what I did was I decided to use the plastic tubing, which works just as well. Really all you're doing with the tubing is kind of getting it to where you can angle it better and focus the light, and this works just as well. You can always light block it on the outside with some black paint if you want, but I find that it doesn't work that much different from the brass tubing as far as being able to angle your lighting and focus it. So what I did was I cut off a little piece. I cut off one end at like a 45-degree angle. You can see there. And then the other end I just cut flat. And what I did was I glued it on the inside here. You can see it glowing. And I just kind of guesstimated at the angle that I needed of that, because I knew I was going to be able to move the LED or the SMD in and out to kind of focus it more. But so I've got it kind of at a similar angle to what the pylon sits at. And this is what I've got. I'm going to turn this light off, and hopefully the camera can pick this up. And it's not really picking it up very well. It's picking up that leading edge, of course, because the spotlight's right here. But this actually fans out a little bit up to about probably about half to 3/4 of the way up the pylon. And it gives it a nice lighting effect. I think it gives it a better effect than if you just try to put an LED there and have it try to shine up this pylon. And I wish it was picking it up better. Let me see if part of the problem is I got my computer screen on at the same time. I don't know if I can change the brightness or that and maybe get this to show up better. Try to change a couple settings here and see if I can get this to show up better. No, doesn't really seem like there's much I can do to get it to pick up that light a little bit better. But trust me, it's giving it a nice effect, mainly on the leading edge here because your spotlight is up the front here. But it's giving it a nice cast across it. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And once I do that, I'll do the same thing for these two spotlights on the top as well. I'll use some tubing. And I'll just kind of guesstimate an angle on it. And I'll do it just the slightest tab of CA glue, just enough to hold in place to test it out. And once I get the angle right on it, I'll dab some CA glue around it, hit some zip kicker on it, and seal it and lock it in place. And then that way all I got to do is copy the same angle on this side. So I'm going to do that, and we'll come back. We should be getting close to being ready to install that Arboretum and the shuttle bay. And that'll probably be it for this episode. I just wanted to get those things done mainly this episode, and there's some other stuff I might have to work on. It's going to take a little more time. So give me a little bit to work on some more of this, and we'll come back and take a look. Alright, so I've got this temporarily buttoned up just so I could show you what everything looks like completed here. I've just got this temporarily mounted on here. I got the botanical garden installed in there. Let me see if I can focus this a little bit. There we go. You can see how that turned out. You can see some of the details in there. Don't worry about this scuff I've got here. This isn't the final coat of paint I'm doing on this, but I've got window masks for this. So that's all installed. I'm not sure why that's looking like it's kind of a ghost, like it's dirty on the inside windows. It doesn't look like that in person, but for some reason the camera's picking up stuff that you don't see with the naked eye. So that's all installed and done, and I'm happy with the way that turned out. And I've also got the shuttle bay installed. You can see how that's looking. I've got the red up here lit up. I had to install 3 separate SMDs in order to get these to light up. I have one on this side to light this blue panel, one up top to light the red, and one on this side to light this blue panel. I'm going to have to install probably at least 1 or 2 more on each side of the shuttle bay, because as you can see, there's that blue strip that is supposed to, trying to do this without breaking anything, that blue strip up here that's supposed to light all the way back. And you can see only the front and the very back end is lit up, and that's because there's no light getting to this center part. So I've got to install some SMDs to get it in. It's very hard to get light to kind of conform around this and light everything up, because it's such a tight space that this has to fit into. But I'll get that worked out. That'll be lit up. You can see the roof lit up. I do have some light blocking I'm going to have to get in here and do. You can see there's a light leak, and there's a pretty good light leak on this side. So that won't be a problem. I'll just get some tulip fit it in once I take this top back off. Once I get this situated, finalized in its spot, I've got to pull it back out. I've also got to try to see if I can get this to seat just a little bit better along this back edge. I've been doing some gradual trimming and shaving of some spots where you know, maybe I didn't quite get a part lined up correctly on the shovel bay, and I've had to trim it or sand it a little bit to get this to kind of fit into place. But it's getting there. I'll get it into place, and again, you can see how that turned out. Let me see if I need to focus any to show you the no, I think that's pretty much focused. So you can see that detail I added with the control room in the back there. So that's lit up nice. And then we've got that area back there. It's like a storage area or a shuttle bay storage area that's lit up in red. But everything looks good. There's also some lights on these side areas that I'm going to need to add those SMDs to light up. These bays on the side here will light up once I get the SMDs in place there. So a little bit of work to do on that, but it pretty much shows that everything is in place, and everything's going to light up nice once I get it together. I've got the spotlights connected for this. I haven't connected the ones on the side yet. I got to do that yet. I've got to find my neck, my interconnecting dorsal for this, because when I packed everything up to move, I apparently did not pack it with the model itself. So I've got to find the box that I've got that in and get that neck out, because I've got to drill a hole through the top here for that wiring from the saucer and the neck to come down into the main body here, the secondary hull. So once I get that done, my plan is to get that neck attached, the pylons attached, and then this will all get painted as one unit with the masks from Mass Design. And we'll get that done, and then I will do the nacelles. Next episode I'll do the nacelles, and that's kind of the last part we really need to tackle as far as the major assemblies go. We'll do the nacelles, get those assembled, and those will get all completely painted themselves as well, because you can attach the nacelles to this model pretty easily, and I don't think, if I remember correctly, it doesn't really take any putty work. If it does, it takes very little putty work to attach those nacelles to the pylons on here. But we'll take a look at that. We've got some electronics we've got to work out for the nacelles as well. And then again, excuse me, the last part I got to work out is that saucer section, which it's all assembled. I did some paint on it, but I'm going to have to strip some of it off and redo some of it, especially the sensor bands. I liked how they turned out, but I left a couple of the window mats on too long, and they really stuck and pulled some of the paint off, and it just doesn't look nice. So I'm going to have to take that all back off and redo it. But I'll do that off camera. You don't really need to see me go through doing all that again. But we'll get that worked out, and then we're getting close. We're getting close. Finally, after a year of putting this thing away and not touching it, we're finally making some progress on the Ian Lawrence 1350 tribute build. So again, come back next episode. We'll work on those nacelles and get those done, and we'll be just about ready to start doing some of the major painting on here. But again, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you found this information helpful and useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up down the bottom and let me know. And also feel free to leave comments in the comments section below this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything, but it helps me out tremendously, especially when my sponsors see that I'm continuing to grow my subscriber base. So please hit that subscribe button and join me next episode so we can tackle some more stuff. And as always, at the end of the episode, don't let me forget, I always like to give a shout out to my sponsors, Cass over Lake Monster Details. Cass, thank you for the magnificent parts that we've been using on this model. Gus over G-Cows, who has made some specialized decals that we're going to talk about that I've got to go over yet, but we're going to talk about those that he's made. And we got Gus over G-Cows. We got Gary over at Mass Design, whose wonderful paint mask we are going to be using to do that beautiful paint scheme on this. Now, the A is not as pretty as the refit, but I've got a couple ideas on what to do with that, and we'll see how that turns out, but hopefully it turns out great. And last but not least, Paul over at Paragraphics, who's got the wonderful photo etch parts that we've been using. I've got a couple more yet to do that we've got to do on this model yet, and a couple of those, at least one of those I know is on the nacelles that I can think of off the top of my head. So we got to get those done. But again, thank you to all my sponsors. Thank you everybody for watching. Till next time, keep modeling.